Welcome everybody, Souldin here, and it's tea time again. Today's tea, this episode's tea, is free Tulsi. No, I have no idea what Tulsi is either. Apparently it's an organic green Tulsi, a purple Tulsi, and a lemon Tulsi tea. To uplift and restore, I have to have it pure black. It smells absolutely dreadful, so I'm frankly not going to have a very good time with it. In any case, today's, Tea Times episode may go on for a bit long, so I'm going to have to begin straight away without talking about my tea too much. Because this is this should be Tea Time episode 7. It should round off the end of my daily tea times for this week, and by tomorrow or Monday, or whatever day you watch it. But basically, after this video, the next video will be the start of our Grin Brothers Sonic Adventure playthrough. Oh, sorry. A little bit gassy. So, what better thing to discuss than about the Sonic the Hedgehog series? Of course, this will be just my opinion on it, not Rafi's as well. Maybe he'll talk about it. Well, I believe he talks about it during the playthrough itself, from what I remember. But as far as the playthrough goes, Sonic series goes, I mostly end up talking about just Sonic Adventure because there are so many Sonic games that I've personally experienced that it would take a while for me to, during even the playthrough, to ever actually talk about them myself. So here I shall do so. So this is Souldin's thoughts on the Sonic the Hedgehog series. Well, my first start of the Sonic the Hedgehog series began with playing Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I don't believe I actually owned Sonic the Hedgehog 2 at this point. It wasn't until later, until Christmas, where one of my oldest brother bought Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for me. But we had a Sega Mega Drive, and I'd played Sonic the Hedgehog 2 before, and I generally liked it. Tails was, and still is to this day, my favourite Sonic the Hedgehog series character. But the Sonic the Hedgehog games we did primarily play within the house was Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Sonic and Knuckles. Sonic and Knuckles was a pretty good game, but it was mostly used for the fact that it could combine with Sonic the Hedgehog 3 to just lengthen out. This was an amazing feature, which I absolutely loved a bit. My brothers played quite a bit of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 because it was a co-op game, and with 3 brothers on the house, Rafi was kind of just like a tiddly little baby at this point, so he wasn't really able to play any of those sort of games. But as far as the sort of co-op gameplay goes, we tended to play a lot of co-op games. So Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was a frequent game we played. It's one of my favourite games to this day, particularly when you combine it with the Sonic and Knuckles add-on. But generally, I like the Sonic the Hedgehog series. We also had Sonic 3D Blast, which was a pretty enjoyable game. My oldest brother liked it the most, though. Mixed opinions on it. Of course, I prefer Sonic the Hedgehog 3, but it was still a good game. But the biggest impact one of the biggest impacts the Sonic the Hedgehog series had in terms of sort of growing up was in regard to what is still to this day my favourite comic series of all time. Sonic the Comic. No, not before you think of it. It's not the Archie Sonic comic I'm thinking about or talking about here. What I'm talking about is Sonic the Comic. It was a UK-made Sonic the Comic series. As far as I'm aware, the Sega's sort of UK comic series, because they had various Sega-related stories, not just limited to the Sonic the Hedgehog series. It would have game reviews. It had its own mascot, and it had some very interesting stories and original characters made for it. A lot of my ideas of what the Sonic the Hedgehog series was like pretty much comes from reading Sonic the Comic. It was a wonderful series. Sadly, it ended a while ago, but recently a long while ago now, but recently there was a Kickstarter in regards to a Sonic the Comic convention. Sadly, I was unable to go. I'd already used my convention sort of trip on going to ButtCon 2013. Oh, wait, it was 2014. Sorry, ButtCon 2014. And unfortunately, I couldn't attend this convention. It was pretty far out of my way. So, still, I helped with that Kickstarter because I absolutely love the series. Going on, I never actually experienced playing the Sega Saturn, sadly. By that point, it was sort of PlayStation N64. But I did end up getting my very first video game console. It was for my birthday or Christmas, I can't remember which. And it was a Sega Dreamcast. Still to this day, one of the greatest systems ever. With the greatest memory card ever. Yeah, that cannot be refuted. The Sega Dreamcast memory card was the best memory card. Of course, I got my Dreamcast with Sonic Adventure. And Sonic Adventure was fantastic. My third favourite video game of all time, which is pretty much why we're playing it on Grin Brothers. Also the fact that, well, it's not the Dreamcast version we're playing a PS3 version of the game because, we can't work it on the Dreamcast, our recording equipment. But I absolutely love Sonic Adventure. It is an absolutely incredible game. It has my favourite storytelling sequence in basically you follow different protagonists. I loved each of the characters. I loved the game modes. I loved playing as Big. Big was fun to play as. I mean, they could have done better in some areas. But in general, Sonic Adventure was a dream come true. Seeing the Sonic characters in full 3D, come to life, talking. The story was amazing in my opinion. And he introduced Chow's. While originally it was okay, Chow's really took off when they made Sonic Adventure 2. Another Sonic the Hedgehog game, which was absolutely amazing in the story department. Didn't like it quite as much as Sonic Adventure due to the changes in the way of doing the gameplay. And, for instance, the Tails gameplay was gone, sadly. I mean, I would have enjoyed it just fine if they just stuck to that sort of gameplay for Eggman, but a little bit disappointing with Tails that he couldn't actually get out of the tornado. In any case, the story was amazing. I really liked Shadow the Hedgehog back then. I feel his story was better done within Sonic Adventure 2, and it would have been better if he'd stayed dead. Or at the very least, if the new Shadow the Hedgehog was confirmed to just be a robot, because that would have been a really interesting storyline of this new Shadow Hedgehog being a robot, but apparently it's the actual Shadow the Hedgehog, I believe. So that just comes across a little boring, and kind of, ruins the whole sacrifice motif. But in any case, loved Sonic Adventure 2 as well, because I loved the game, Dreamcast games. I also really liked Sonic Shuffle. I was a Mario Party fan, and Sonic Shuffle was a very nice, unique take on it. The CPU could be annoying as heck. And I really enjoyed the story mode. I mean, I never got to the end of playing through a Mario Party storyline, but I certainly got to the end of Sonic Shuffle's story mode. Although I hadn't played through it with all 4 characters, because that would have taken forever. But I did beat the Sonic Shuffle story mode at least once, which is more than I can say for a lot of games. But in general, really liked Sonic the Hedgehog when it was on the Sega systems. And I continued to enjoy the games as they moved to the Nintendo systems. I played Sonic Advance, absolutely wonderful game, not exactly the best in the series, but it's very good. The Advance games tend to be rather underrated. Advance 3, not quite so good, and I didn't really get as much time playing it, but very enjoyable. And I've recently been able to play Advance 2. I think a good debate can be had on whether Advance 1 or Advance 2 is better, because they're pretty even. I never got to play Sonic Battle, but I'd have loved to, because it looks like an awesome game. I enjoyed Sonic Heroes. The Chaotix came back, and as I was reading, and as I was a fan of the Sonic the Comic, I knew the Chaotix had quite a bit of a role in the Sonic the Comic series. Admittedly, I found it really strange that Mighty wasn't with them, because Mighty had always been associated with the Chaotix for me. But in any case, really liked being able to play as the Chaotix again, and playing as Big, and Cream is awesome because she's canon. But I really liked Sonic Heroes. I felt I could have done better in some regards. But otherwise, really nice game. And I generally like a lot of the Sonic games, despite their faults. A lot of people... For instance, this is going to sound weird. I did enjoy Sonic 2006, to some regard. I liked how it took inspiration from Sonic Adventure. I liked how they did the team sort of scenarios, where you were playing through a game and sometimes you'd have to use Tails or Knuckles, and they were distinct. I really liked the way they did that, and it was effectively how I think Sonic Heroes should have done, with you go between each of the characters for certain segments. That's really how I think Sonic Heroes should have been done in a way. Of course, without all the glitches of Sonic 2006. Sonic 2006 had its problems, and the co-op mode for Sonic 2006 was fun, admittedly. Chaotic fun, but fun all the same. But yeah, I know it's flawed, but it's just funny. Even when it's glitchy as heck, it's funny glitchy as heck. When it's bad funny. When it's good, it's rare, but it's charming. It has good ideas at least implemented into it in what is definitely a rushed game, but not what I'd call so much sort of a game designed to be to be bad, but simply that it really lacked polish in a lot of good areas, and as such it became a glitch fest. It'd be interesting what people would have considered the game if it was, bug free. Would it still be described bad for the whole Elise sort of Sonic Kiss? Despite how I've known that quite a few people seem to ship the whole Shadow and Marisa thing, that's still the same Hedgehog human action. This discussion took a creepy turn. Well, I'm almost running out of time already, so I ended up getting to play a lot of the Sonic games, sort of older Sonic games, thanks to Sonic Mega Collection and Sonic Gem Collection. Had a cousin who had the Game Gear, but never really allowed me to play it. But I did get to play the Sonic Game Gear games. They vary in quality. Don't think they're as good as the sort of classics, or as good as the advanced games to a degree, but they're fun games. So got to play Sonic Fighters. Really like Sonic Fighters. That's quite surprising. A lot of people praise Sonic CD. I didn't like Sonic CD. No, I really don't like Sonic CD. Sonic Racing, bit of a mix. It's fun to a degree, not exactly the most compelling of games. Love the opening theme though. And me and Rafi had a few good times at Sonic Racing. But when it came to Sonic Gem Collection, having Sonic Fighters was what really made me happy, because it was Sonic Fighters. And Sonic Fighters was just fun. I got to play as Knack, and Barrock and Bean with some interesting additions. Amy got to show her Pika Pika Hammer for the first time, and it was fun. It was just really fun, and I enjoyed it. And dear gosh, they should make another one with like all of the characters they've forgotten over the years. Maybe even put in Honey the Cat so she actually exists at some point. But moving on, Sonic and the Black Knight. I've made a Grin Brothers mini episode on it with Raph. You can see Sonic and the Black Knight. I gave it a very, very... I've always actually imagined that it would be cool if Sonic had a sword. As a child, that was the sort of thing I thought would be cool. It didn't come out quite like that with Sonic and the Black Knight. It had some good ideas. I gave it a good long chance, but there's too many flaws. It's just lacking in polish. It's like this could be executed really well. Sonic and the Secret Rings, I don't think I played enough of it to really testify. I had some difficulties with it the first time round, so I'm going to go in with a fresh slate on the opinion of Sonic and the Secret Rings whenever I get round to playing it again. Sonic Unleashed. I actually enjoyed the Werehog sections more than I did the classics, the sort of regular Sonic sections. I feel the regular Sonic sections focus too much on speed, because in my opinion, Sonic isn't actually a game about speed. You play Sonic the Hedgehog 3, you play that first level, that is not a speedy level. There is so much jumping, and it's big, and you've got lots of areas you can get to, and often I'd end up playing as sort of Tails and Knuckles usually rather than Sonic, so it never felt like I was focusing on speed when it came to a Sonic game. For me, Sonic has the options of sort of smoothly going into sort of combat. For instance, you can roll through an enemy, or your jump itself hurts enemies. But it's not necessarily about being super fast, even if that's a trait for Sonic. I think other games actually do it better. I think the original Super Mario Bros. Actually had much more speed to it than the sort of original 3 Sonic games. It's only when you got to the Loop-de-Loop that Sonic really felt fast. Gonna get this ready to pause when need be. Then other Sonic games, well, kind of having to rush this. It really should be more than one video. Sonic Colors, really liked it. Thought it did really well. Not exactly the best sort of games, but I really enjoyed it. I felt it was a bigger improvement of what the normal Sonic sort of sections were than what Sonic Unleashed had. Which again, on the Werehog section, the Werehog combat was a lot of fun. The problem came in that they kept trying. The levels kind of felt way too long because of all that platforming sections as a Werehog. In any case, Sonic Colors, really enjoyed the sort of level design, search. Really enjoyed its gameplay then. I sort of enjoyed Sonic Rush, but I felt it had the same problem as the Sonic Unleashed Day sections in that it just felt too much like rush. And I don't think I ever really got around to sort of doing much proper jumping or anything. Sonic Generations? I'll be honest, I don't like Sonic Generations. Probably going to get a bit of hate for that, but I don't like it. It's got solid gameplay, I guess. But I felt the classic and the current Sonic the gameplay didn't really differ enough in the way it did. Not quite like Sonic Adventure did in a way. Because they felt too 2D in the same sense. And I felt that the sort of sections of modern Sonic were better done in colours. And as for something else I'll say before I have to round this up, I'm a huge fan of Sonic and Sega Racing All-Star series. But that's my opinion on the Sonic series, as quickly told as possible. And my opinion on Free Tuzzler is that it tastes like Coca-Cola, but really weird. What? That doesn't even make any sense. Why does Free Tuzzler tea taste like Coke, but odd and warm? Maybe like a bad Coke. In any case, that was my thought on the Sonic series. Cheerio, everyone!